So there were many lies told during the referendum, especially by the Leave side, about how amazing it will be when we leave, and those chickens are coming home to roost fast, because as you know, the more we've progressed towards you know B-Day, the more of these cries that they originally had have been abandoned. And there is one very interesting call, if people remember it, about the fact that Boris Johnson claimed that, you know, we need to leave the EU because one of the reasons we need to leave is because this will somehow save Britain's curry houses. Well, Ollie Khan, who is the head of, well, he's the Secretary General of the Bangladeshi Caterers Association, swallowed this lie. And he now regrets telling people to vote to leave because he's realised that this has turned out to be a lie. So this is in the Guardian. So, I swallowed the Brexit lies. Now I regret telling curry house workers to leave. With Indian restaurants in crisis, Boris Johnson and Priti Patel said we would be able to employ more chefs from South Asia. One of the many myths and mysteries of the 2016 referendum campaign is that people from the Southeast Asia community backed a Leave campaign that was so often linked to bigotry. The truth is, they didn't. A majority of voters of the Southeast Asian heritage supported Remain, but more of us voted for Brexit than anyone expected. Not only was I one of them, I bear some responsibility. As the head of an organisation that urged our 150,000 members and 12,000 restaurants to vote Leave. At the time, the Bangladeshi Caterers Association was worried about an average of 4 restaurants closing a week, rising rents and soaring business rates. Both Priti Patel and Boris Johnson approached us to collaborate with and support the Save Our Curry Houses campaign set up by Vote Leave. They said that if we were to support the Leave campaign, they would ensure that we would be able to get more chefs from South Asia by relaxing immigration rules with lower salary thresholds to hire staff from outside the EU. And as we know, that's not happened. But, yeah. Anyway, he continues. And we made the mistake of believing them. We were, and still are, struggling to get chefs to Britain from the South Asia. As the rules state, you have to pay a salary of about £350 to £35,000 to offer a curry chef's job to a South Asian. A sum that is simply unthinkable for a large number of smaller restaurants. Vote Leave supporters also claimed that if we voted to come out of the EU, we would not need to prioritise immigration from the EU anymore, and it would actually mean more chances to get people from Commonwealth countries. Remember that? You notice they've dropped that as well? As I said at the beginning, they've dropped a lot of things since the referendum. It was because of these promises that I supported the Leave campaign. If enacted, they would have brought great benefit to our industry. But now I see that these promises were all lies. These false promises were not kept any more than dozens of others, from the extra $350 million from the NHS and securing the easiest trade deals in history. The gap between the Brexit that was sold and the one being delivered increases by the day. When I talk to my membership, the one thing I hear again and again is people saying that if they were given another chance, they would vote to remain in the EU. Indeed, Brexit is already harming the nation's curry houses. Many of the estimated 10,000 EU citizens employed in our industry have quit their jobs amid continued uncertainty over their future. The treatment of these workers from other countries and the rise in xenophobia since the referendum should shame us all, particularly those of us from an immigrant background. The Brexit being proposed will damage our businesses and make our communities poorer. Nor will leaving the EU provide any clarity or closure. The only guarantee is that successive governments will go back and forth to Brussels trying to make sense of something that makes no sense for Britain. Worse still, it threatens to usher in an era of inward-looking nationalism, political turmoil and uncertainty that anyone from our background should fear. As a businessman, a Bengali and a proud Brit, I believe that the only way forward now is to go back to the people and offer a public vote that asks them whether they want to go ahead with Brexit or stay in the EU. Many people in my community feel used. We were taken as fools by the Leave campaign, who once got what they wanted have deserted us. But people in my community are not stupid. If I helped bring about Brexit, I should now work twice as hard to secure a people's vote so that together we can help put this right. And it's not surprising. We see this time and time again. And you can even point to instances in Gamergate, even Comicsgate, where people have decided to, bring in minorities or something like that, to use them as a very useful tool for achieving their own ends. And then once they've achieved it, well, never mind, they'll just, nip off down the road and, did we know you? Oh, sorry, we don't know you. Who are you? And that's essentially what happens to all these, a lot of these people, and, including this guy. The whole Save Our Curry Houses campaign was incredibly linked to a lot of bigotry that went around that campaign. Again, it's not talked about, but that was one of the things that happened. And this was, and this bigotry was targeting people that were not even from the EU. So this is, this is insane. And the idea of, especially now, of, you've got to be able to at least secure a pay of at least £35,000 or more a year. What curry house is going to be able to, afford that? You're topping, at least a top-end restaurant. And in many areas, especially if you're in, a low income area, and you're paying your chef about 35,000, 35 grand a year. Well, the price you're going to have to charge food. Your restaurant needs to be doing an absolute roaring trade to be able to guarantee that at least. But that's not going to be the case at all. And I said it before. One of the things I said during the referendum and post-referendum was we're going to go back into the old style of bigotry. This idea that we will welcome all these people from the Commonwealth with open arms, when even when you look back at history, we never did that at all in the first place. And not only that, but you've all got to look at what happened to people from the Windrush scandal that's just been going on, which you don't hear a lot about anymore, but it's still a massive scandal. We welcomed these people into our country, said they could stay, and then all of a sudden, with whatever happened with again on Theresa May's watch, you have people being sent back who have families in this country, and they have no roots at all back in their original countries, because they've been here so long. This is their home. And it's not only just people like them, it's people from the EU as well that have been here for years and have families. What do you do with a couple who maybe one of them is from the EU and one of them's from the UK and they have children? What happens to them? And we've seen a lot of other countries that have basically been going, look, if you guarantee our citizens' rights, we'll guarantee yours rights. And I can tell you now, a lot of people living in the EU for years are all going to be suddenly booted back to the UK because they haven't been allowed to stay because of what the decision our government has made. Because I guarantee you, post-Brexit, there is going to be a lot of deportations of EU citizens who have been in exactly this state. And this idea of applying for settled status, which, bear in mind, was exactly the same way that the Windrush generation, what happened to the Windrush people, it should be ringing alarm bells consistently. And one of the areas I highlight is in Spain, where we have a lot of OAP pensioners went to go and retire. Spain doesn't like these people, especially the right wing in Spain. And if they get into power, do you think they're going to guarantee or still guarantee those rights of the people to stay there? Because their rhetoric is very similar to the Brexiteers who constantly say, oh, all these people coming over here using our NHS, switch it around. All these people coming over here using the Spanish, health system. How dare they? Yeah. You're going to get a lot of OAPs. And bear in mind, we are already, in this country, creeping into a care crisis. Just to add on to the crises we already have. To make some sort of crisis pie. Or crisis lasagna, I suppose, would be a more apt metaphor, is insane, because you've got a lot of EU immigrants who work in the care industry. They're leaving. A lot of people who, again, their status is not going to be secure in any way, shape or form, are going to end up leaving. So there's then going to be a crisis in getting people to care for these people. But, yeah. Oh, yeah, this is what you voted for, by the way, so you've got no one to blame but yourselves.